On this week's episode of Blown Pixel, we talk about Google's latest consumer computer, Amazon buttons, Star Wars trailers, and a little bit of trouble in the Midwest with Uber. This is Blown Pixel.
Try again.
Welcome to episode 9 of Blown Pixel, where Cody and myself talk about tech, startups, culture, Midwest, other things that come to our minds. Thank you for joining us. Cody, how have you been, sir?
You know, I have been doing just fine, T-Rave. I'm pretty proud that we've got 9 episodes in the can. I just got back from a trip to New Orleans. I got a sunburn right on the face there. You know, I'm good to go. I'm staying hydrated. But it was fun stuff. We went into the bayou. We did airboat rides, touched some alligators, you know, the whole 9 yards. It was good stuff.
Very, very cool.
It is, of course, sports seasons. You know,
it is sports season.
I see you have your Royals hat on, of course.
Yes, I was drugged to an outlet mall this past weekend, and I've been wanting a fitted Royals hat for some time now, and so I was able to purchase it, and the Royals started their season off very strong. Minnesota Twins, however, have put a little kink in the undefeated rolling of things, but nonetheless, they came out swinging, and it's going to be a really, really good year to be a Royals fan, because for the last few years or decades, it really hasn't. I know, Cody, you're not too big into the sports ball.
Well, no, you know, things. I have been following.
As of recently, you've forayed into it more on the NFL side, but you are sporting Kansas City with your scarf there, which is quite fine.
I had my first sporting game very recently, and as is appropriate in a club, I now have my awesome sporting my sporting scarf. Very festive. Everyone has a few of them here in Kansas City. You know, we actually have a pretty good soccer team. If you haven't heard about that, and now it's just for the Chiefs to start winning, right? Like, we're the darling of the league on the Royals side. We're clearly cleaning up on the soccer side, but what about them Chiefs, huh?
We'll find out for this season. I think there was some interesting cuts as of this year, or maybe not. I don't know. I have not been up on the Chiefs.
Jesus. Well, I think this is appropriate time for those who don't know who we are. What do we do, T-Rave? Who are we? Why would you listen to us? As if this explanation helps that. But anyway.
Well, I am a happiness engineer up for a company called Flywheel, which is a managed WordPress hosting company in Omaha, Nebraska. Previously, I have done social media / digital media coordination with actually some of the Kansas City sports teams, Chiefs primarily, and so that gives me no authority on sports at all. But I have worked with it. I've worked inside their front office before. But yeah, just love tech. I do a lot of WordPress stuff as well as just dabble in code and just a tech enthusiast overall.
Of course. And my name is Cody Beasley, of course, if you didn't know who we were. And I am a user experience architect for a sports analytics company called Edge Up Sports. We do big data meets fantasy football. So there you go.
There you go. So as you were gallivanting around the southern parts of America, I was buying power tools and doing things in the new house. My background is not super festive yet, but I plan on changing that.
Yeah, I hope you put some big vinyl up. Like those massive vinyl stickers from like Blick and all that. Those are pretty fancy.
We'll see what I can come up with.
So, in our respective neck of the woods. Springtime is coming, has come, and, more activities are starting to come down the pipeline. So, T-Rev, what's going on in Omaha? What do people need to know about, what's coming up in the next couple weeks?
I mentioned it in the last episode, and I will future thank you from the past, if that makes sense, for anyone that comes out to the Flywheel open house. That is actually tomorrow night. It will be on the Facebook group, and as we continue episodes of Blown Pixel, we'd like to bring more events to our Facebook page, so but we are opening our doors after 6-ish months in our new digs, if you will, and you get to come drink free booze and eat good food, and that's about it for that. As always, there's always coding groups happening. JavaScript is a very popular group up here in Omaha, as well as 2 times a month, I believe, the Ruby on Rails, or at least Ruby meetup. Ruby and open source, I guess it is. So that's always good, whether you're just kind of entering the space, or you want to help others, or you're just looking to kind of expand your knowledge.
So in Kansas City, we have some of our staples. I run a community group that explores kind of culture and history in Kansas City called Functional, and we have something called Mellow Mondays that happens every Monday at the Green Lady from 9 p.m. until whenever you want to go home, I suppose. I think the lounge is open fairly late. Yeah, until they kick you out. Delicious cocktails, wonderful ambiance, jazz, 7 nights a week. It's a wonderful place, and we're just in the back every Monday. I think we took like one week off for Christmas or something last year. And then we also have a Maker Faire coming up. Kansas City is the 4th largest in the nation. And that one, I believe, is in June 27th through the 28th. So that's coming up here in a couple months. And then finally, 1 Billion Bits, which is another labor of love that I am closely associated with. And the conversation here in Kansas City, as we were the first to get fiber, has been, what can you build with fiber? And so the conversation came around to, what does that really mean? And it started to come down the pipe as, what do next generation's networks, software, frameworks, all that start to look like? So
it is time to jump into some of the articles, into some of the news that has piqued our interest lately.
I'll start. My first thing is the Google Chromebit. And basically what it is, for folks who have played around with, the Google, the little Chromecast, it's kind of like, it's a dongle you pop into an HDMI cable, but this is basically a USB drive, a little longer than what I think people are used to, but it's an entire Chrome computer on this little guy. So like it's the full bag. It's $100, or sorry, it's less than $100, and it's an entire Chrome OS computer. So you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. It's got I believe some pretty decent stats for what it is. It's got a really cool like swivel piece to it. So if you're trying to jam it into a small space or whatever, you can actually flip it up. And hook it up to your TV, whatever you want to do. It's really fancy. You can run your own Linux programs, all that other stuff. So, did you see what this was about? Do you have any cool applications you could think of off the bat that you'd use something like this for?
I don't know about applications. I find it funny, though, how just technology kind of swings back and forth, and how actually within the last few years the swings have gotten closer to each other. And what I mean by that is, I just remember being a kid-ish earlier years, and they're like, hook a computer to your TV. And we've seen that before, even way before we were kids, but surf the internet on your TV, and then it'd die out, and then someone else would try, and then it'd die out. That, and then actually netbooks. I want to know where the netbooks of the world have ended up in some kind of hellish compost.
They're called MacBook Airs now, is what they're called.
Well, I'm talking about like the MSIs and the Asus.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that. I mean, they were 8-inch books. I mean, so like my you know, I had a MacBook Air, and that's the 11-inch. It's basically just, I think it was before its time. It had shitty battery life. It was still very heavy. Like, I think it was just, everyone hated those netbooks. But now, because we have kind of thin clients and a bunch of this kind of virtualization power, it started to make a lot more sense. But
yeah,
we'll get into that.
And so that's where these kind of come in, is like, okay, what more of your computing, daily computing, is done actually on the internet, and so you don't need all that much power. And now you have the entertainment system in your house, so why not just hook it in? And so I think Google, starting with the Chromebooks, started that kind of move towards that. I find it funny because they also did the Google TV, and not the Chromecast and not the Google Fiber TV, but the actual Google TV that were found on some Sony devices, some Logitech, which had a keyboard. And they keep kind of coming back to say, hey, we want to be in your living room. We want to be front and center. I think this is a decent play in the sense of, like, now it's just like your computer is connected to your TV, and so you really don't have those boundaries of, well, I have to get this app, but it's only for the Apple TV, or I can only stream to this, but only from the Chromecast. That being said, that they're working their way back into the living room as they need to be if they want to stay competitive. So you think this is
primarily an entertainment situation? Is that kind of where you think the target is for something like this?
I think entertainment primarily, but with a secondary, like, oh, I can check my email. I can always stay connected in a full sense of being, I don't have to pull out my phone on the couch. I can just switch over to the Chromebits and do everything from there. Well,
so I think this is something that's kind of it's a milestone, at least in how consumers are buying computers, right? So you used to have these massive towers. I mean, I still have one. If you're in kind of Windows gaming and that sort of stuff, you still might opt for one of those things. But, it's been long heralded that the death of the PC has been coming. And I think that, with Mac minis and, these hyper small thin computers, like these ultra compacts and this kind of stuff, I think that people are starting to say, hey, I have this large screen TV, I've got a 4K monitor, a 4K TV that, I spent less than $1,000 to get, it's 50 inches or whatever. So display technology has gotten cheaper, better, etc. And I think they don't want these bulky computers because they don't care anymore. So they're just popping in, one of these Chromebits. They don't buy this massive thing. They've got phones. They've got, maybe a laptop. But I can see this in a professional capacity, or rather even like a hobbyist kind of thing. Like, I can write a Unix-based program and then, like, spit it out. Like, in some ways, I haven't been able to get a tiny computer that's been able to do this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the actual price point, and then kind of the offerings with it, because it is a pretty strong little computer. I think it's 2 gig worth of RAM.
All right, so T-Rave, what do you have on your list?
So today there was a little panel of some fascinating people talking about a fantastic movie, and that is Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Episode 7 in the collection of Star Wars, as it were, and they came out with a new trailer, and it is fantastic on so many levels. If you're living under a rock, Disney now owns the Star Wars bit of things, and J.J. Abrams is stepping in as the director of this 7th movie, the long-awaited, if you will, as everyone was like, oh, will they ever make a 7th movie? No, they don't need to. Yes, they need to. And then the first 3, the literal episode 1, 2, and 3 were made, and they're like, oh, kind of put a bad taste in a few people's mouths. And so now J.J. Abrams is taking the wheel, and we'll see where it ends. These trailers are fantastic.
I love that they have this vintage look to it. Like, did they shoot on film like that? That is really, really good stuff. and it fits right in with the identity and the branding and kind of the motif, I guess, the stylistic piece of the original ones seamlessly. Actually, works better than it works better than the first three.
Well, and I think one of the cool parts about watching it even that second time is that, you know, it's obviously in the future, past episode 6, but it's not too far in the future. But there is obviously, you know, the Empire has fallen, but it's still alive in some senses, and so there have been tweaks to the stormtroopers. However, you see X-Wing, so you're gonna get some battles there. You got the Millennium Falcon, obviously, and Han Solo and Chewbacca is, you know, the concluding little
original
piece of
folks
it.
in
And
this
so,
one, yeah.
yeah, and there, a lot of original folks in it, and I think they're playing off the age between the movies, obviously, like, I mean, physical age of the real actors.
Totally.
Well,
it's like 30 years. It's almost exact to when the first movies were actually done. So they've just basically said, yeah, you're that old. Good job.
Very exciting. I can't wait.
All right, so my next item is the Amazon Dash button. And I'm a massive Amazon fan. I'm a big Prime person.
As am I. Of course. They collect a lot of my money.
I think Amazon has changed the game. Certainly as how I've purchased things. I used to use Micro Center and like all these other online retailers, and now I primarily use Amazon for everything from dry goods to bulk stuff. I don't even use Costco anymore. So anyway, the latest Amazon innovation, kind of following that one-touch button that they have, which is so addictive, is the Amazon Dash button. So what they've done is they have these little like physical things that hook into your Wi-Fi network, and they're for, you know, brands that you know about, like Tide, or, you know, there's a whole bunch of things like, you know, like granola bars or whatever. And so what you do, you literally stick them next to, you know, wherever that item is used. So maybe it's a laundry room if you're buying detergent or whatever. And whenever you get close to, you know, or close to being done with some detergent or whatever, you just hit the button and it sends it off. Like, that's it. And they've opened this up for just Prime folks, you know, folks who have already paid that. I'm sure there's like an R&D margin, or people who are already hooked into the system, so they'll likely purchase out. But, you know, I think this is super interesting. I love it, of course, but there's some little piece of me that's like, you know, it's almost like, wow, we've really removed that layer, like almost completely. Like, and I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, how we're using technology with these seamless layers. But what are some of your thoughts on something like this, T-Rave?
When they first announced it, I was like, all right, like, I can get behind that. I understand. However, like, at the same point, I'm like, I don't, like, it's weird for some of these, like, dish detergent. Dish detergent as well as clothes detergent. You know, it's hard to think about, like, why would I need a button? I only buy this once every 3 months. But then you actually think about it and you're like, oh, that makes sense. But it's actually a big barrier of entry, I think, in the sense of your mind. And it's not just because it's a button that automatically orders you something, but more on getting your goods from Amazon. And, you know, they've been offering their cupboard or whatever their
Prime pantry stuff.
Their pantry stuff for a while. And I know at work we're a big fan of it, and it makes life easier. You know, but you have to kind of unwire yourself from the typical, like, I have to go to a store.
Right.
And it's like, and it's not even like, oh, I have to go to a store. It's just, that's what I do. And so I'm a big fan of it. However, just, you know, the initial thoughts were, this is cool. Am I going to use it? But at the same time, it's like, why not? I buy everything else off Amazon, and I hate going to retailers.
Yeah, no, I saw this button, and my initial reaction was that this was obviously just like a physical manifestation of the one-click button. And I think at the very first, it's like, these buttons are free. It's not like I'm purchasing them. And I'm forgetting this shit all the time. Like, all these domestic things, like, domestic shit in my life is the worst. So, like, I run out of dishwasher detergent or whatever, and this is saying how lazy I am. This is totally the first world issue. I have a grocery store on my actual block. Like, it is just on the diagonal, the hypotenuse distance from my house. And I still constantly forget, like, laundry detergent or toothpaste or, all these little things that kind of fall through the cracks, and it's just something I don't take a trip out to do, and I'm certainly not going to the store just for the hell of it. Like, but I do order a ton of things off Amazon, and I have, like, my mailbox is, like, stuffed with these little things. So for me, it's like, I'm actually wired to love this type of thing versus kind of the traditional shopping experience, where I gotta write it on a list, and then I've gotta have my list out when I go to shopping, and then I put it all here, and and then I'm in the grocery store, so I end up purchasing other things because I have no lack of discipline or control in my life. And this is something that, boop, it's done, it's there 2 days, whatever. For me, this is kind of awesome. And especially for these little, like, dumb domestic things that I already hate dealing with.
Next up on my news list is Tidal, the new music streaming service. For artists, by artists is really how I look at that. It's owned by Jay-Z as well as quite a few other celebrity musicians, and this service they announced probably about a month ago, and I'll be honest, like, it kind of came out of nowhere for me. Other people might have already kind of known about it, but the first day as they're announcing it, I remember, like, a buddy and I at work, like, trying to figure out what it was, to ultimately get down to it's just another streaming service.
Yeah.
And so I bring it up because it was back in the headlines today as they've partnered or acquired a service. How do you say it? It's Dizzy? Oh, nope, SoundDiz. Maybe even the Verge.
This is so weird to me. Like, so when I heard about Tidal, and I will admit that I am not well versed in this subject. So just take that for pulling things out of my ass, just like really anything we talk about, frankly. So disclaimer anyway. And when I heard about this, the first thing that I heard in all the media was, that it was like bombing, or that it wasn't like doing very hot, or it was basically just a negative ecosystem or sentiment around this type of topic. And the question for me is, this is a hyper competitive space in an ecosystem that's primarily UX based or user experience based. So, like, with Spotify and RDO, even Google Play for the kind of warehouse approach to things and embedded in the Android ecosystem, these are really well situated, like, entities. Now, I did just recently switch from Spotify, which I had done for years, by the way, to RDO, just based on, like, its designer porn, essentially. Like, the design of the application is marginally better, and the recommendation system seems to be a little slightly more in line. But I'm talking, like, these are studied nuances between major players. So I'm very curious why they thought it was a good idea. They may have a better bead on what a demographic to use something like this would be. I know a lot of folks end up using YouTube, actually. That's why Google had YouTube Music, because some people, they don't want to pay for anything or whatever. But do you have any handle on why this would exist? Like,
well, I think at the end of the day, when you watch some of their videos, it's very, like I said, it's for artists by artists, and they're actually paying out more than all these other streaming services. And that's been the biggest thing since ever, is how do the artists actually make money off of their music? And since the dawn of any kind of digital or analog replicator, music has always been essentially, we'll just go with the term pirated down the line. Now, I say that because with Spotify, there's been the whole thing with Taylor Swift of like not making her money and then blah blah blah, and like I think this follows the same thing as on one side you have the people that are like, oh, I really love this artist and I'll really support them, I'll pay whatever. I'm like that with Radiohead, with Muse. I will buy their stuff all the time. But everyone else, like the general population behind this, they just want to listen to the music. And so, it's I don't know where this title stemmed from, but in the sense of it, I think it's more to align with like the public and how do artists get paid. Oh, well now we have a platform that we built.
So that's I mean, this is a So, I am definitely in the kind of camp that the RIAA are just like big dicks, and they're basically swinging around archaic thoughts, just generally suing people out of existence, etc. But that I think stems from my perception or my philosophy on the patronage of the arts. And so when you talk about Radiohead or Nine Inch Nails or any of these guys, I think we buy their merch or we buy something that is truly unique. Something that I'm going to buy Tycho's posters because it's brilliant artwork that's screen printed and all this. Or there's a pressed vinyl, or I think there's an entire ecosystem around the extension or the pride or the general patronage of these people, and plus the concerts and everything else. I think that the music itself should be free, and I always get very weirded out about when Taylor Swift, who is, to be frank, is one of the only artists that can pull this shit in this day and age. Yeah, people just want to listen to her music, and frankly, why are they trying to take out money for that? Like, that's your major marketing drive that drives these massive product ecosystems around being associated, the extension of one's identity, the self-expression, like all these other things. When I hear this stuff, I just think people in those industries have been approaching this from a very, very traditional, archaic level, and I feel like I hate it. I hate the way that they kind of flatten the landscape to say, like, this is better than that, when there's so much opportunity to take advantage of that they just haven't approached.
Well, you can definitely tell it's been a week or so since we've talked, because we're all fired up.
Oh, yeah. We're
I think at this point of the show we should cut the last two pieces that we have.
That's what I'm totally for that.
And jump into In Musk We Trust, because this is brilliant on everything, and this is why we trust in Musk. That's Elon Musk, for any of you that are not familiar with this segment of the show. Cody, would you like to kick it off?
And so the latest stuff in the Elon camp is SpaceX launched the Falcon 9 rocket again. And because we don't have a shuttle, the shuttle was retired a couple years ago. I don't remember when it was. But we do not have reusable rocket situation. So the whole point of this Falcon 9, and this mission was, I think it was the CRS-6. I don't remember if that's the acronym, but basically a Dragon capsule on the top of this Falcon 9 rocket. They were just delivering supplies to the ISS, or the International Space Station. And so the whole point of the Falcon 9 rocket is to be able to go up, deliver a payload, do whatever it needs to, and then actually come back down to Earth. And technically, there's a small little drone platform in the middle of the ocean that this rocket comes down to and lands on. Easy as that, right? Like, it's
Easy
never been done.
as that.
It's never been done before. They've done multiple attempts. This is, I believe, the second one. Second one, maybe.
Like every problem that they've had, they're trying to land on this small barge, and like in comparison, when you see it coming down, you're just like, wow, that barge is really tiny.
Is tiny. Yeah,
tiny.
no, it's super small. It's literally like, I mean, it's haystack needle kind of magnitude of difference here.
And it begs, it makes you question, like, I mean, obviously we don't, from a far off shot, we don't actually know how big it is. I'm sure it's, bigger than what we're maybe perceiving, but it's still not that big. But, like, it begs the question, like, why don't you make the barge larger? But when I say that, I also come back to say it's Elon Musk.
Well,
and it's SpaceX,
it's not only that.
It's them saying explode. We can do it.
These things explode. I mean, I think it's something like they're going to do 15 more of these guys in this year, or something like that. There's I think more than 10. And so if you take a look at that, I mean, it's coming down. Like, here's the platform, and here's a lens that I'm
hot,
using.
by the way.
It does come in hot.
It's not supposed to come down that hot.
And then as soon as it sets down, there's a couple of jets with the lateral, and it falls, and the whole thing explodes.
But it tries so hard to stay vertical.
It's because there's a lateral jet shooting out, knocking it over. Like, but it was so close. It was just that small, lateral momentum on the side there that just pushed it over.
So it's fascinating to be in this time and age as we explore the further things in life.
I always let you just roll with these things because it's like,
who knows where they're going to end.
You don't even know what's going to happen when you start on these.
No one knows where that's ending, not even myself.
All right, that's it. That's done.
It. Blown Pixel episode 9.
We will see you next episode, guys. Have a good week.
Please hang up and try again.